Hello everyone, I'm Paisley. How are you today? We are going to be making Choereg bread today, and I thought I would share the recipe with you all. And while we're sitting here or standing here, go ahead and hit that notification bell and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any more contents. We are so glad that you're here today. So what is Choereg bread? It is an Armenian bread that's made in Welsh. It's considered a sweet bread, typically made around Easter time. I've already pre-measured my ingredients for the sake of the length of the video because it would take a really long time. This bread actually takes 6.5 hours to make, and it will make 5 loaves. Most of it will be the proofing of the bread, so this video will not be that long. But I wanted to start it off with, I always pre-measure my ingredients just for the sake of the video so that it doesn't take so long. But in this bowl we have 6 cups of flour. You're going to need 1 cup of sugar, some extra flour on the side, salt, and this is ground Mahleb. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll show you here so you can look for it. You're going to need baking powder and sesame seeds. You're also going to need a little bit of oil to let your bread rise. And in a pan, you're going to need 1 cup of margarine, 1 cup of unsalted butter, and 1 cup of whole milk. And for the Mahleb seasoning, I will put a link down below. This has to be bought at a specialty store. They don't sell it typically in your big box stores. So the first thing that we're going to do is take our butters and our milk and turn the heat on lowest setting, just to get that melted and heated up together. You don't want to bring it to a boiling point, just enough for the butter to be melted. Then you're going to stir it, and then you're going to add your 1 cup of sugar. So while we're waiting on the butter to melt down into the milk, I went ahead and took 5 eggs and just gently beat them, not to like scrambling egg point, but just enough to break it up a little bit, because we'll be adding those to the warm sugar milk mixture here once it cools down. Alright, so the butter has melted into the milk. It doesn't have to be completely melted until your sugar is dissolved. So I got most of it in here melted. I'm going to go ahead and add the 1 cup of sugar and stir. And we're going to let that sugar go ahead and dissolve into that warm mixture. And let the rest of the butter melt. So the butter is melted and the sugar has dissolved in the butter and milk mixture. You'll hear Carmen in the background. She's playing and having a good time today. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the heat and pour this into our mixing bowl. Hello, Carmen. And from there, we're just going to let that cool down before we add the eggs. So while we're waiting on the butter and sugar mixture to cool down to a lukewarm temperature, I have put a 1/2 cup of lukewarm water in here. You want your water to be between 110 and 115 degrees. Then we're going to go ahead and add 2 teaspoons of sugar. Stir that in here to get it dissolved. And then at that point you want to go ahead and get 2 packets of the rapid rise yeast, and you're going to pour that in here and let it get good and bubbly. It's very important that you keep your temperature of your water between no less than 105 degrees and no more than 115 degrees. That way you can make sure that it is active. So we're not going to stir that. We're just going to let those sit in there, and after about 10 minutes it should be bubbly, and that will let you know that it is ready. Alright, so our butter and milk mixture and sugar mixture is at a lukewarm temperature. At this point you want to go ahead and add your eggs a little at a time and have it stir. That way you don't take a chance of cooking your eggs. We're going to bring this down, turn it on low, and add a little bit at a time. I think I'll go ahead and turn it up just a little bit more. Go ahead and let that mix up good, and it'll become nicely blended. So while the yeast is working its way, we're going to go ahead and start adding the ingredients to our dry ingredients, which is the 6 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to need baking powder, and that's going to be 1½ teaspoons. And then you're going to need your Mahleb spice. And you're going to need 1½ tablespoons of the Mahleb spice. Then you're going to need your 1½ teaspoons of salt. Doesn't want to close here. There we go. Now I'm just going to take a whisk and mix this together very well. With all those dry ingredients incorporated. And the yeast is now started bubbling up. So we're going to go ahead and add that to our egg flour, or egg sugar, I'm sorry, and butter mixture. And try not to make a splashy mess like I just did. Make sure that you get all of it that you can in there. We're going to bring this back down and gently mix it. Now we've got that mixed together. We're going to start adding the flour 1 cup at a time. Make sure that it gets incorporated thoroughly. And turn it again on low again. And we are just slowly letting this come up into a dough form. So far I've already put 4 cups of flour in, and we're just slowly letting it do its job. I'm going to go ahead and finish adding the flour until it gets to the dough consistency that we're looking for. So our dough is mixed and ready to go. At this point you're going to want to make sure that you have flour down on your surface of whatever you're using for your surface. Not a lot, just enough to coat the bottom. And you want to make sure that you have some on your hands because this is a sticky dough. So we're going to go ahead and bring the dough out onto the floured surface. You're going to start working your dough over that flour. This is the messy part. Add a little bit more, just as needed to keep it where you can work it. Kind of just gently folding it over. And I've kept about 2 cups of flour over here, just so that I would have enough to get the dough to come together. Alright, go ahead and wash my hands, get that extra dough off my hands. And get stuff all over my face. So what I'm going to do is continue working the dough until I get it to form into a soft ball. And then we're going to knead for 10 minutes. Okay, so I have been kneading for about 10 minutes now. And we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil to the bowl to help it from sticking when it rises. You don't need a lot, just enough to coat the bowl. As you can see, my dough is good and worked, no longer sticky. Just going to put that back in the bowl that we mixed it in. It's heavy. And add just a little bit more to the top. Not a lot, just enough to rub it in on top. We're going to set that over here where it's nice and warm. And get a clean towel and cover it. So now that we have our dough on the back of our stove, that is my warmest area. and it's also draft free. You want to try to make sure that you have it in a warm, draft free area. This is going to sit for 2 hours. This is the longest part, like I said earlier, the proofing. So it's going to sit for 2 hours, and then we will get it out and punch the dough down once it is double its size. We'll punch it down, and then we'll be proofing some more. The dough is now officially rised. Go ahead and take this off, and you will see that it has doubled in size. So at this point, you're going to literally punch down your dough, excuse me, and get all that excess air out. Punch it down. Okay. Once you punch it down, you go ahead and cover it back up, and it won't take as long to proof back up. This time, the last time was 2 hours, so this time it should only take about an hour to proof back up before we move on to the next step. Well, our dough has now doubled again in size. And at this point, you're going to separate this dough into 5 different separate dough balls as evenly as you can. So what I will do is just pull out what I need. And you can adjust the sizes as needed. I'm sure I will have to. A little bit from each one of these to make them as even as possible. Alright, I'm going to move 2 of them back here. I'll go ahead and move 3 for now, because I'm going to braid these. So we'll move this out of the way. Then you're going to take this and separate it into 3. So altogether you're going to make 5 loaves. You're going to separate this and put it into thirds about evenly again. And then you're going to roll the dough out. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way real quick. Roll the dough out into long ropes. You want them to be about 12 to 14 inches long. And you're going to come back over here on your parchment paper and put them together like that. You're going to take the ends on one side and kind of pinch them together and roll them over and under. Then you're just going to braid your bread. Then you're going to take that and pinch that together and roll it under. And then you're just going to make sure that you place it on your baking sheet. You're going to want each of these to be 4 inches apart. So I'm going to put 3 on this one, and then I'll put 2 on the other baking sheet that I have behind me. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting these together, and I will show you what they look like before we let them rise again. Alright, we are on our last one. I thought I would go ahead and just go over it again. I'm going to separate this last ball into thirds. A little bit more here. And then you're going to roll it out to about 12 to 14 inches. And lay it on your parchment paper. And I'll go a little bit slower with the braiding this time, just to make sure that you're able to see what we're doing. And the last one. So you're going to take the ends and pinch them again. You're going to bring one over. You're going to bring the other one over, and then the third one over. And you're just going to repeat that, just like you're braiding hair, if you know how to braid hair. And then we're going to move it up here, and that's what they will look like. So then you're going to take them and put them in your nice warm draft-free spot. Take your clean towels and cover them. And go ahead and preheat your oven to 350. We're going to let these rest for about 30 to 45 minutes. You'll notice it's done when you go to press the dough and you just leave a mild indent with your finger. You don't have to press it hard, just enough to see if it rose up the way that it needs to be. If it comes back, it's ready. If it stays in and it doesn't really bounce back at all, then you might want to leave it a little bit longer. Make sure that you don't have any fans or any draft to come in, because you want this to be in a warm place. Our bread is now done proofing. You will see that it is pretty much doubled in size. And while this was proofing, I went ahead and took 4 egg yolks and 1 whole egg. Those are large eggs. And I went ahead and added 1 tablespoon of water into a bowl and scrambled that up. Now we're going to put the egg wash on the bread. And you only want to do 1 loaf at a time with the egg wash. And get it nice and spread it out. Sometimes when I'm making my breads, I use egg whites only. But with this bread, I decided I wanted to go with the yolks, and I'll explain here why in just a second. So after you get the egg wash on the bread, you're going to sprinkle your sesame seeds on your bread. As we're doing the second one here, if you use just the egg whites to glaze your bread with, you'll get a lighter golden color. Some people just use the whole egg, and gives it, a nice golden color as well. I decided to use more egg whites, egg yolks, because I wanted it to have that nice, darker, golden brown color when it's done. Make sure that when you're spreading this, you just get all those little crevices and the sides so that it gets nice and evenly browned all over. The last two here. And while I'm doing this, I also wanted to give a shout out to our youngest son, Riley. He turned 19 today. He's always been our comedian in the family, always making us laugh, and just has a wonderful spirit in life. So happy birthday, Riley. We love you. If you want to leave a comment down below for Riley, wishing him a happy birthday, I'm sure that he would appreciate that. He watches my videos so that he can get my recipes and do them for himself. Alright, that all done. That's the last bit of the sesame seeds on the last one. And they're ready for the oven. So earlier I said you're going to preheat your oven to 350, so our oven is ready to go. And you're going to bake these for 25 minutes. Or until golden brown to your liking. Since I have to have 2 baking trays, which most of you I assume will too, I will do half and half. I'll do the first 10 to 15 minutes and then switch them around so you get it evenly baked. So in the oven they go. We are going to let that yummy goodness bake through. And I'm going to have to clean up all these sesame seeds because you know me, I always make a mess. Well, 25 minutes later and we have our gorgeous bread. I just pulled it out of the oven, so they are really hot. We are going to let these sit for about 5 minutes and then maybe 10 and go ahead and put them on the cooling racks. Now, as tempting as these, as I was saying, as tempting as these breads smell, don't get into them when they're warm. I know it's hard. They smell delicious. But let them cool down and set up before you get into them. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you would, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I hope you give this bread a try. I know it's a long time making, but it's so worth it in the end. Thank you again. We love you all. God bless you all. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Easter.